I never imagined my in-laws could be this heartless. It was a rainy Thursday evening when I heard a loud knock on my front door. When I opened it, there stood my brother-in-law Mark and his wife, Linda, both dressed in stylish travel outfits, holding two massive suitcases each. Behind them, in a wheelchair, was Grandma June, my husband's 84-year-old grandmother. She looked pale, bundled in an old cardigan, her frail hands trembling slightly. "Hey, we need a huge favor," Linda said, forcing a smile. Before I could even ask, Mark wheeled Grandma inside and set her near the living room. "We're going to Paris for 2 weeks," he said casually. "We can't take her with us, so you don't mind, right?" My jaw dropped. 2 weeks? You didn't even ask me first. Linda rolled her eyes. "Come on, it's family. And it's just a little old lady. You stay home all day anyway." Before I could protest, they kissed Grandma's cheek, muttered a rushed goodbye, and were out the door, leaving me stunned, holding a confused elderly woman in my living room. Grandma June looked up at me with glassy blue eyes and whispered, "They didn't tell you, did they?" I knelt beside Grandma June, still processing what had just happened. "No, tell me what?" I asked gently. She sighed, her frail voice trembling. I need special care. I can't walk to the bathroom on my own, I have to take medication 4 times a day, and they haven't been giving me the right doses." My stomach twisted. "What do you mean?" Her hands shook as she reached into the side pocket of her cardigan, pulling out a crumpled pill organizer. Some compartments were empty when they shouldn't be, others were stuffed with mismatched tablets. They say the expensive pills are a waste of money," she whispered, glancing toward the door as if they might return. I felt my chest tighten with anger. Not only had they dumped her on me without warning, but they were neglecting her basic medical needs. That night, as the rain tapped against the window, I made her a warm dinner, gave her the correct medication, and tucked her into the guest bedroom. Before turning off the light, she grabbed my wrist. "Please, don't let them take me back." Something in her voice told me there was more, much more, she hadn't yet revealed. The next morning, I brewed a fresh pot of coffee and made pancakes for Grandma June. She smiled, the kind of smile that looked almost forgotten on her face. As we ate, she began to open up more. "They treat me like a burden," she said quietly, cutting her pancake into tiny pieces. "I wasn't always like this, you know. I used to have a house, a garden, even a small savings account." My fork paused midair. "What happened?" Her eyes flickered with sadness. "When my health started to decline, I moved in with them. I trusted them. But they convinced me to sign over my property and give them control of my finances. Said it was for convenience." My stomach sank. I'd heard enough horror stories to know exactly where this was going. They sold the house. "I never saw a cent," she continued. "Now I get an allowance, if you can call it that." I clenched my fists under the table. This wasn't just neglect, it was exploitation. Right then, I made a silent promise to myself, I was going to get to the bottom of this and make them regret ever thinking they could get away with it. Later that day, while Grandma June napped, I decided to tidy up the guest room where she kept her things. Most of her belongings were neatly packed away in a small suitcase, too small for someone who had once owned an entire house. As I was folding some clothes, my foot hit something under the bed. I knelt down and pulled out a dusty, worn shoebox. Inside, there were old photographs, yellowed documents, and a crumpled envelope marked confidential. I hesitated, then opened it. My heart skipped a beat. It was a copy of a property deed, in her name. The address matched the house she'd said was sold. But the sale date was recent, just 2 months ago. And the signature on the transfer documents. It wasn't hers. Before I could process what I'd found, I heard the faint buzz of my phone on the nightstand. A message from my in-laws popped up. "Hope she's not too much trouble. Remember, don't go through her stuff." My hands trembled as I stared at the screen. They knew. And now, so did I. I sat there for a long time, clutching the deed, my mind racing. If the house was sold just 2 months ago and Grandma June never signed those papers, someone had stolen it from her. And judging by the smug tone of my in-laws' text, I had a pretty good guess who. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept hearing Grandma June's voice from earlier when she'd softly said, "They didn't even let me pack my teapot." It was more than cruelty, it was calculated. The next morning, I made her breakfast and casually asked if she had ever given anyone permission to handle her property. She shook her head. "No, dear. I told my son I wanted to leave the house to charity after I'm gone. He was angry about it." Bingo. I smiled and assured her that everything was fine, but inside, I was already making plans. Step 1, make copies of the documents. Step 2, contact a lawyer I trusted. Step 3, wait until my in-laws returned from their much-deserved vacation, and then make it one they'd never forget. Little did they know, the moment they walked through my door would be the moment their lives turned upside down. The following week, I played the part of the quiet, accommodating host. To my in-laws, I was just the babysitter for their unwanted responsibility. But in reality, I was digging into every corner of their scheme. I visited the county records office, pretending to be researching family history. The clerk was kind enough to pull up the official sale documents for Grandma June's house. My heart raced when I saw the signatures. Her name was there, but it was a forgery. Sloppy, almost laughably so, except it made my blood boil. The buyer? A shell company registered under my brother-in-law's name. And the sale price? Less than half the house's actual value. They'd pocketed the rest. I scanned everything, my hands trembling, not from fear, but from the thrill of having them cornered. Back home, I began setting up. I hid small cameras in the kitchen and living room, and kept my phone ready to record any slip-ups when they returned. Because I knew one thing, people like them can't resist bragging when they think they've won. And I was going to catch every word. The day finally came. Their fancy SUV rolled up the driveway, polished to a shine, with the scent of tropical sunscreen practically radiating off them. My mother-in-law waddled in first, her tan so deep it looked almost unnatural. She didn't bother greeting me, just dropped her designer bag on the floor and demanded a coffee. "Where's Emily?" she asked lazily, glancing around like she had forgotten she even had a daughter. "In her room," I replied with a polite smile. We had a wonderful time together. My brother-in-law strutted in next, sunglasses perched on his head, smirking as if he'd just won the lottery. He tossed his keys on the counter and muttered something about having the house back to normal. I pretended to busy myself with the coffee machine, my hidden camera silently blinking from its perch above the cabinets. As they sipped their drinks, they started whispering, but just loud enough for the mics to catch. "Can you believe we got that house for a steal?" my brother-in-law chuckled. "Best part," my mother-in-law replied, "is she has no idea what we pulled. And we never have to deal with her again." I stirred my coffee, biting back a grin. Oh, I had every idea. And I was just about to let them know. I set my coffee cup down and leaned casually against the counter. "You know," I began, my tone light but my eyes locked on them, "it's interesting what people say when they think no one's listening." They froze. My mother-in-law's cup paused halfway to her lips, and my brother-in-law's smirk faltered. Before either could respond, I picked up the remote I had placed neatly on the counter earlier. With one click, the living room TV lit up. The footage rolled, crystal clear video of them laughing on the beach, toasting their cocktails, and in between, the conversations. Every petty insult. Every smug comment about getting rid of me. Every word about Emily being a burden they'd happily dumped on me. Emily's door creaked open behind me. She peeked out, eyes wide, as her mother's face drained of color. "What is this?" my mother-in-law demanded, her voice shaky now. "Oh," I said sweetly, "just a little souvenir from your vacation." I thought you might like to relive it. The final clip played, my brother-in-law bragging about tricking me into staying here while they partied in Hawaii. When the screen went black, the silence was deafening. I took a slow sip of my coffee. Now, I said, about who really owns this house. I walked over to the dining table where my bag lay and pulled out a slim, leather folder. It made a satisfying thump as I placed it on the table between us. This, I said, sliding it toward them, is the property deed. And if you'll notice, I flipped it open and pointed, my name is the only one on it. My mother-in-law's eyes darted to her son. Is this true? She whispered. I smiled, but there was no warmth in it. When Dad passed, he left this house to me. Only me. And while you were sipping my ties, Emily and I were making some changes, ramp for the stairs, remodeled bathroom, actual care. Emily wheeled herself into the room, her head high now. She took better care of me in 2 weeks than you did in years, she said, her voice steady. The shame on their faces was almost satisfying enough, almost. I stepped closer. So here's what's going to happen, you can collect your things, and you will not be stepping foot in this house again without my say-so. And if you try anything, I tapped the folder, this deed is ironclad. I'll have you trespassed faster than you can say aloha. They didn't argue. They just left. And for the first time, the house felt like home. Emily smiled up at me. You're not just my aunt now, she said softly. You're my hero. I hugged her and whispered back, no, Emily. You're mine.